Hello, I'm Kelly Clement, the documentary programmer for the 2021 Mill Valley Film Festival. And I want to thank you, all of our supporters, especially for turning out for the festival in this very unusual year we find ourselves in. And today, it's my great pleasure to introduce some of the filmmakers who created the films you've just watched. Joshua Harding, Matt Klug, co-directors of Going Dark, Finding Light; Anna Kuperberg, co-director of 11 Weeks; Erin, Brethauer, and Tim Hussin, co-directors of Eric and the Bees; and Kevin Wong, who is co-director of My Little Hilton. A lot of group effort in this. We are very honored to be screening your wonderful new short documentaries at this year's Mill Valley Film Festival. These true life tales, all by extraordinarily talented filmmakers from the Bay Area, give us an intimate look at how these dramatic times we're living in are challenging us to dream of a new future. Now, each year, I look forward to putting together a program of documentary shorts, all done by local filmmakers. And we usually have very lively Q&As, but since we're online, I think I'll just jump right in and ask a couple of questions about each of your films. And then we can open it up for discussion between all of you. All right, so usually my first question at these Q&As is, how did these filmic journeys begin? What inspired you to tell the story of this unique individuals that have such a profound effect on others? And I think I'll start with you, Joshua and Matt. Going Dark, Finding Light. How did you get connected to Michael Tusk?
Yeah, I was introduced to Michael Tusk about 3 years ago. He wanted to tell a story about how he has a farm in Bolinas and how he wanted to tell a very vivid story about farm to table, how the food that he grows at his farm in Bolinas ends up in the restaurant in the city in less than 24 hours. That story never got told. And then right when the pandemic hit, I reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be interested in telling a story? I think that story will have to be drastically different, but are you interested? And at that time, he was doing these meals and these dinners out at his farm. And so that's kind of how it started. And we wanted to tell the story about how the restaurant adapted, but we also wanted to tell the story of how the restaurant works with farmers and purveyors and how these farmers and purveyors are affected just as well as independent restaurants throughout the country. And, independent restaurants employ around 16 million people. They're very important to the, economic of this country. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, and it's especially important as a main industry of San Francisco, restaurants. And it's very exciting because, soil to table. And I think that's a catchphrase that will stay in people's minds after seeing this film. And you can call it a positive outcome of COVID. It's a chance to recalibrate. And Quince, it's a San Francisco eatery, and it's a focus of many Bay Area locals. How are the restaurants doing as we continue into this pandemic?
It's interesting because I've been traveling around the country a lot this past 6 months, and everywhere I go, I'm originally from North Dakota, visited back home, went down to Texas. We're actually shooting another doc in Alabama, and everywhere we go is the same like San Francisco. Like everybody is struggling for employees. It's the biggest thing right now. It's like the restaurants are ready to get back up and live again, but they can't get people into work. It's a really, really interesting dilemma right now. But the one thing is, with Michael and Quince and everybody else and these purveyors, like everybody's being as positive as possible and, trying just to make things as close to normal as they can. And I think that's one thing we tried to get across in our film is we just didn't want it to be about this 3 Michelin star restaurant serving these dinners. We wanted to show how it affects the whole circle of life, that a restaurant encompasses, which I wasn't aware of as much until I moved out to California, how important like all these farmers and stuff were to restaurants.
Yeah, and it's great in your end credits. you give information on how people can get involved. Now I'd like to go over to Erin and Kim and ask you, how did this start for you? How did you meet up with Eric and gain his trust to tell his story?
Well, Eric and the Bees really started when we partnered with a Bay Area production company called Even Odd. They were looking for stories that really highlighted helpfulness because they were partnering with Zendesk on a series. And they had found Eric and learned about his story, and they wanted us to make this short. And so we went down to West Virginia and met Eric, met his family. We talked to him a bunch of times before we went down there, and we partnered with Rachel Barth, who is our producer. And Eric was amazing. He was like this very big, open-hearted veteran in West Virginia who started using beekeeping as a form of PTSD therapy. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, he really believes in the program and how it's helped a lot of veterans in his area. So he was very excited to help us any way he could to share his story and get it out there so we can help more people.
So there is a large community of these veteran beekeepers.
Well, West Virginia has a very high veteran population, and it's also very rural. And so Eric, actually, because he's so passionate about it, he will drive hours and hours away to different veterans who kind of reach out to him. I think when we first met him, he was telling us like how many hundreds or thousands of miles he put on his pickup truck, like just visiting different veterans to try and teach them how to do beekeeping. So it's a very rural place. So it's not like there's a ton of people that get together, but he goes and visits people, and he has people to his farm too. So he really makes it work for others.
And other states besides West Virginia?
I think he has, yeah. I think he has gone to other states in the South, and I think he actually went to Hawaii and did some beekeeping there too.
Yeah, he has some partnerships with people in other states, and there is an organization. I forget the name now, but yeah, there is a larger network.
Yeah, and he actually started selling honey through the National Veterans Affairs. So I think they have them in like gift shops and stuff, like his jars of honey. So. Yeah.
Those beautiful filmmaking, wonderful nature shots that you get. And
that was super fun.
Yeah.
We used a wide angle macro lens for that, which we hadn't used before, which is really fun. It's like a lens that's like this long, but it looks like a stinger itself. And so, yeah, we had a lot of fun. Neither of us got stung, luckily.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Or is there any fear of going out there with your cameras and getting into the hive?
Well, I think that's part of the draw for Eric is like, you really have to kind of control your feelings, because if you're agitated or nervous and you go into a hive situation, they can sense that. And so you really have to compose yourself. And so, we did that. It worked out.
Yeah, we just stayed calm and it was fun.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
And why don't we go to you, Anna? Tell us a little bit more about how you got started with your film and how you made the decision to chronicle this journey.
Hi, I'm Anna. So my wife, Carla, was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and she knew it was going to be fast. So she turned to me and said, "Are you going to document this?" And I was like, "Well, sure, if you want me to." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be really real." And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And so I don't think she knew. In fact, I'm a photographer, so she was thinking stills. I don't think she knew she didn't have a thought of what the final thing would look like. But I think we just both knew that it was important to document things. And like all documentaries, it takes shape while you're shooting. You don't really know what's going to be important in the film. So some of the things, and then there's this other thing, which is she wanted me to remember her, right? So there's like several layers. She wanted to be able to speak to me from afterward. I wanted something with a broader audience. And parts of it actually, there were things that I recorded only because she died so quickly, that she was trying to tell me things about banking information and where's the title to her truck, that I'm like, I can't write all this down. I'm just going to video it with my iPhone. And so she's talking about the house and the truck and the banking information. And I was just, this wasn't supposed to be in the movie. And then my editor, Julie, said, send me everything. And I'm like, well, this isn't, I'll just send her, and she's like, no, that's the movie. So the movie starts with her like telling me how to close the bank accounts close down the truck insurance after the truck is sold. I didn't shoot that for the movie.
Well,
so there's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, uplifting film. And like you say in your synopsis, it's a story more about love than about death. And I was wondering, the Death with Dignity Act, there's only about 10 states that embrace that. Did you have any issues with that?
So that just passed the month that she died. So she didn't have access to that option. If she had, she might have taken it knowing her. What she did do, which you can tell in the film, is she didn't want to pursue any kind of aggressive or experimental treatment that would cause a lot of side effects and suffering without really extending her life in a comfortable, normal way. She did have the option to continue treatment, but we all knew, and her oncologist knew and was reluctant to tell us, that the chemo that was available wouldn't extend her life by a lot, and it would be a lot of side effects. So she chose not to continue, which she was really young. A lot of people, it's uncommon for a young person to make the decision that she made. Usually people are fighters and they will throw everything at it. That's more common. But she was very realistic and pragmatic, and she was more interested in being comfortable than in having a few extra months. And so she might have taken that option if it were available to her.
Well, it's about 11 weeks from diagnosis to death.
Yeah.
But a lifetime of wisdom is encapsulated in these 14 minutes of your film. That's the beauty of documentary shorts, what you can accomplish. Now I want to throw it over to Kevin. My Little Hilton. Now, that recently premiered at the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival. And how did you meet Gail and gain her trust to tell her story? And how long did you follow her around?
Yeah, so we met Gail.
Just a little bit for the rest of the filmmakers, just a little capsule.
Yeah. So Gail, My Little Hilton follows the story of Gail, who's a Black woman from the Midwest who moved to San Francisco in her 60s after a long career as an in-home caregiver to basically pursue the dream that she never got to when she was younger of being a professional singer. And so we met her as part of development we were doing for a longer film my co-director Todd and I had been working on about housing in San Francisco. We met her during development of that and decided that, she didn't make sense in that larger film that we were working on, but her story of giving her dream one last go in her 60s really was a nice inversion of that sort of classic starving artist moves to the city to make their dream come true sort of archetype. And she was just like such a warm and open person that we couldn't not make a film of some kind with her. So we filmed with her for probably, I'd say the bulk of the filming was a 6 to 8 month period or so with her. And then we did, after we had finished the edit, we were like, oh, hey, can we meet up with you and get a few more shots of, you in the city and things like that, normal stuff that people do. So, but we just really wanted to, tell this nice portrait of a woman who was really doing everything she could to make the most of life, and really sort of like appreciating making the most of the time she had. And then the other side of that is like how hard the housing situation in San Francisco made that for her.
Yeah. But basically it's all about living your dream.
Yes, definitely. And like, I think that was the big takeaway for us from her was like, it doesn't like, from the outside, someone might look at her situation and be like, oh, like how sad she like has to live in this room and like she doesn't have a lot of money, but she like, and she says in the film, like she couldn't be happier because she's doing the thing that she loves, right? And this is what happiness looks like for her. So I think that's sort of the really sort of like, I don't know, inspiring side of her story and her personality that we wanted to capture.
Definitely. And the music's great too.
Yeah. And it's really, I guess the other piece of it too is so you sort of wonder like what she could have done if she had had more opportunities, right? Because, she grew up from a working class background in the Midwest. It's not like music school or things like that were really in her future. And so you sort of wonder, like, she has such a beautiful voice, you sort of like want all the Gails in the world to have a chance to share their talent, and I'm just feel lucky that she was able to find a way later than most, but was able to find a way.
Yeah. How's she doing in the pandemic? Is she still able to perform?
She's doing well. She actually was able to move out of the SRO that she lives in right before the pandemic. And so she was able to get a Section 8 voucher through the city and move into a studio apartment, which helped because she wasn't able to get gigs once the pandemic had started. So that helped her out, stabilize her housing situation. And she's just been busking for tourists. She said she found a mask that doesn't muffle her singing too much.
Wow.
And she's been busking at Fisherman's Wharf a couple days a week, just as a way to like make some extra money. And I think she also like became old enough to get some of her Social Security money and that kind of thing too. So that helps her out as well.
Wonderful. Well, due to our limited time, I can't ask you all the questions I wanted. But I guess my next big question that I usually end the Q&As on is what's in store? What's next? And anybody can jump in on this.
Sure. I mean, I'll just sort of, since I'm already talking, I'll just sort of jump in. But like what's next is the film that we had been working on when we met Gail Home as a Hotel is explicitly about people living in SROs, residential hotels in San Francisco. And so we've been working on that film for like 5 years, and we just got a good chunk of funding, and we're bringing on an editor, and hopefully we'll be done with that in the first half of next year. So hopefully you'll see that at Mill Valley in 2022.
Looking forward. How about you, Anna?
I want to make a film about something happy, and also actually my film actually is kind of hopeful and inspiring, but something maybe light and silly.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any ideas yet, or just percolating?
Those things like goats in pajamas, like something along those lines. Yeah.
We need that. We all need that.
Exactly.
How about you, Erin and Tim? You've got a lot of projects out there, I know.
Yeah, we're currently in post-production on a film that we've been working on for a few years now. It's a feature documentary sort of related to wildfire in California.
We've been filming the last 3 years since the Campfire in Paradise, and we've been following a household there. So the film looks at wildfires, but also the history of the gold rush in California and just man's relationship with the environment, and just looking forward and how we're going to adapt to this future where wildfires are a big reality.
Wow. You've got a lot of material coming up.
Yes. We were out filming in the Dixie Fire just a couple months ago, so it's crazy.
Is it getting better?
I think it's like 85% contained, but it's been burning since
It's almost 1 million acres. But
since July. It's like the largest in California history. So,
and we're not even into the full fire season.
Yeah,
there's still some months. The Campfire in Paradise happened in November, so yeah, there's months to go for sure.
Yep.
Well, keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You don't have too much material to work with. But it's going to be a feature?
It'll be a feature. Yeah, right now we're calling it Nothing Gold Can Stay, but we're still figuring out the title.
Okay, great. And Josh and Matt, what do you got going?
We're going back to Alabama this Thursday. We shot one round with an artist down there a couple months ago for 5 days, and we're going back to hopefully wrap another 5 days with him. And that's our next project, without getting too deep in it. But he's a really eccentric, amazing artist that lives in a small town in Alabama that I came across years ago. And then Josh and I this is our little side project stuff that we try to do 1 or 2 films a year. And so after we wrapped the Quince, we started figuring out what the next one was, and we reached out to him and he said he was interested. So we're really excited to go back. It's a fun piece.
Well, one thing I was wondering is, how these shorts are very important, because I get to see a lot of them each year. And how do other people get to see them? Like, how will other people that have seen this shorts program be able to tell their friends, oh, you've got to see this film? How will they get to see it? And how is our film industry changing? I know that's a lot on the plate, but whatever you want to say about it.
I mean, I'll start since we're just done, but that's actually a challenge that we come across, is how to reach as many people as possible. And hopefully the Quince one was a positive thing because he has such a large following. And so he was able to push it out as much as possible. And but that's one thing that's always a challenge from our end. Like I said, this is not our full-time thing. And I come from the advertising world where there's paid money to push things out and, get them seen. And so we're always looking and trying to, because we put so much effort into it, to shoot these films and to highlight these people. And it's a challenge from our end too. It's like how to push it out there. And we just keep trying to reach as many ways as possible and just think of unique ways as we can, honestly.
I think it is nice having curated platforms like Vimeo. There's so much content out there, and it's nice having a platform like Vimeo where they do a pretty good job of curating beautiful films. And that's if you're able to get into that curation, it's nice to, for your films to be shared that way. But yeah, there's so much content out there. How the industry is changing. It's just like, it's so hard. I mean, we all have friends that we say, you need to watch this show. You need to watch this show. It's like no one can keep up. And I wonder how that's going to be in the next 5 years. We're just overwhelmed with content. Mm-hmm. And some of it's good, and some of it is just content for content's sake, which is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope some of the, I think it's already happening. Some of the streaming platforms are starting to show more shorts.
Yeah.
And I think that's a trend that's catching on a little more. Also, like Vimeo is nice for that too, like staff picks.
And you can see Eric and the Bees, I think, by just Googling that. I think it's available online to see. And right now, I think we're just trying to get it through film festivals and have people see it that way. But I think in the case for this short, we we partnered with a production company, and they've been really active about like trying to find ways to distribute it. So for us, that's been really helpful. But we've also made shorts like we worked together at a newspaper at the San Francisco Chronicle, and we had a weekly video column where we were making a short every week. So we had this kind of built-in audience there, but yeah, it's finding the audience and finding a place to put it. That's the name of the game for sure.
And Anna, how could people see yours 11 weeks?
So there is a website, 11weeksfilm.com. And if you go there, you can follow on Instagram or Facebook. Right now, it's still going through the film festival circuit. So it's like there's no public link. And I don't know if it will get picked up for distribution or if what. So I don't know yet, but if you follow the film, you'll be able to, you'll be alerted when that happens, or just email me if there's somebody out there who needs to show this to, for example, I had a nurse working with caregivers of people with cancer, and she wanted to show it to her small group of people, and I came and spoke to them. So if there's anybody out there like that would find it helpful, just email me, anna@kuperberg.com.
Great.
Or follow the film, 11weeksfilm.com.
Well, I want to thank all of you so much for making these incredibly important films. And I hope that more people get to see them. And I'm very excited about seeing your next projects in the next Mill Valley Film Festival. So keep me posted, okay? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.